Yes.
Okay. I'm sweating.
Good morning. Good morning, gamers.
Good morning, gamers. Everett, you gonna say it?
Okay, say it.
Good morning, gamers. Okay, you guys can shut up. Get off my back. All right, so like,
it's already 4:35 p.m. Because none of us are, or rather, all of us are too lazy to get up in the morning
so true.
early enough to be able to
Well,
record.
I've also been up until like 3 or 4 every night this week because of the election stuff.
That's a good point.
Election. I've been up for a much more important reason. I've been getting after an Obsidian skin for my MP5 in Modern Warfare.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely the most important.
Definitely
happened
get
this
your
week.
Priorities right there.
So, yeah.
So,
okay, but like
the idea is that we this is obviously our first try at this, so nothing super
or
official
is it?
or strict. That is a good point. But the plan was to have a I don't know, a schedule, a system for each podcast, including talking about a game or games, talking about music, and then talking about a movie or movies. So to kick it off, I guess we can introduce why we're doing this podcast and where it came from.
Maybe we should introduce who first. Like, who are we?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
That's
We
also
haven't
a good
introduced
point.
ourselves.
I guess I'll go first. My name is Davis Beecham. I go to Memphis, University of Memphis in Tennessee, and that's basically all you need to know about me.
Fair enough. I'm Everett Ritchie, and I go to Collin College in Collin County. Big surprise there. I'm from Texas. Proud of Texas.
Oh, whatever.
And that's me. Yep.
I am Elliot Ritchie, Everett's older brother. I haven't been in college in 5 years. I'm the only one here who's married with a child. So y'all can suck it.
Okay.
So basically, what the reason we're doing a podcast is sourced primarily, I guess, from the whole quarantine thing. Because through quarantine, we have all grown closer, honestly, and played games together through playing games together, and that has mostly included Destiny 2. What are some other games? Minecraft, I guess.
You got a ton of Minecraft, Destiny 2, Fall Guys.
Yes.
Among Us.
Among Us recently, yeah. And there was basically Good Morning Gamers. The only reason we're calling it that is because I used to do a public Snap story, or I still do actually. You can.
I was about to say it still goes on.
Yeah, you can put your story on my Snap if you want to. Add me, Hot Alpaca, on Snap, and you can join the gamer gang. But
Gamer gang.
Yes, there it is.
Yes.
It's been created. But yeah, so I made a public story where people could post their funny selfies on it, and it was called Good Morning Gamers, and they would be titled Good Morning Gamers. It was just kind of a greeting, and I thought that would be appropriate as a title for this podcast because as we talk about games, and we're all casual gamers. So
by the way, the only reason that I haven't posted a Good Morning Gamers selfie in a while is because I ran out of different languages to say Good Morning Gamers in.
Oof.
I mean,
wait, you telling me you went through every keyboard in the Apple?
I did
was
like
about to
3.
Did you?
3.
I did 3.
And he couldn't find others.
And then I gave up.
So you get okay, yeah, that's fair. Well, speaking of
Alright.
games, I guess we can hop right into our first subject, which is games. Like I was talking about earlier, we got together really playing Destiny primarily.
Heck yeah.
And whatever, you're gonna have to tell me how long ago you and I first got into it.
Oh man, this would have been like what? November of 2018.
This is not long after it came out,
course
right?
you know when.
It was about a year after it came out.
I can
I
look
think,
it up.
but anyway, Battle.net was like, "Hey y'all, do you want to play Destiny for free? Because we're giving it out for free." But like this was just for a week. It wasn't free to play or anything.
Yeah.
So Davis and I heard about it and we claimed copies and we played for like 2 hours
If
and we
that,
honestly could not.
we
We could not figure out what was going on.
were totally
to
lost.
save
I thought it was
It's
actually
a big game.
It's huge, but it's also not
Yeah.
like the gameplay isn't really. You don't start playing Destiny and you're just blown away by how it feels. once you understand the game and you're more engaged in it, then you have a better appreciation. I would say it's definitely an acquired taste.
Interesting. See, I didn't get that at all. Like, yeah, the mechanics and stuff were confusing for me when I started getting into it, but man, the gunplay was just so tasty that I loved it from the moment I started playing it.
Yeah. Well, I guess
It took me a
specifically
lot longer to get into the more
the content of
the
it.
mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess specifically is that I love Halo. Don't get me wrong, but I've
Oh,
always
heck
had
yeah.
a better like a better what's the word, attraction, a bigger attraction to games with more fluid gameplay in terms of like the physical mechanics, the game mechanics,
Oh yeah.
because Halo is very arcade style. There's
Right.
there's two different motions, your sprinting motion and then your walking motion, and then you shoot, and you don't really ADS with any guns, and it's not very
Right.
dynamic in that sense. And
Right.
that's honestly the beauty of it. That's why it's one of the reasons it's so popular. But that wasn't really a main attraction of mine, especially then. So when we got into Destiny, I was like, oh, this is kind of like tacky and quirky and kind of gimpy, and I wasn't super into it. And then, oh, by the way, it was released in 2016, like mid 2016.
Nah, that can't be right. It was like late 17.
I'm lying. I'm looking at it right now. It says 2017, and I don't know why I said 16.
Okay. Okay.
But then,
But anyway, but back to the story. So like
Right,
we
yeah,
got
yeah.
it went like then, and we like played a little bit, but we couldn't really get into it, and so like I don't know, we deleted it after that. But then it was like what, April, probably like early April, that Elliot got it, and he was like, guys, you need to get Destiny 2, and we're like, Destiny 2? Oh, we tried that. It was like whatever, but we'll try it again. So we got in, and like we just, it was awesome. We
Were we
started
playing-
playing like.
Were we playing Minecraft before that,
yes.
or
Well, I
We
think
were?
that's what
Okay.
it was, wasn't it? It was you got the realm in Minecraft, and we started playing Minecraft together, and then you said something about how you've been playing Destiny, and Everett and I were like, wait, we
Destiny?
played Destiny before, like a year
Yeah.
or two ago. You played that, and you were talking about how amazing it is, and we were like, all right, well, we got to join up, and then we got the Discord server, and that's kind of where that our little
Yeah,
squad here
like,
was
was-
born, I guess. Like that's where that
Yeah.
started.
yeah, that's true.
So let me just pull up my list real quick. We're gonna go over what we've been playing recently, right? And really, what I've been playing recently is Modern Warfare. Not as much Destiny recently, because we've put a lot of time into that, and I think we're giving it a break until the new Beyond Light DLC comes out in 2 weeks. I'm looking at my calendar.
Heck yes.
Dang.
Super
I think
hyped
it's like
for that.
it's like a week and a half.
Yeah, that is gonna be awesome. But been playing a lot of Modern Warfare. Everett and I guess, are
dang.
the main people here, so we don't have to stay on it too long. But man, what a game!
It really is so solid. The gameplay is so smooth, and you can play. I mean, you can literally get on a playlist and play the same map over and over again with different modes, and it doesn't get old. It's fun.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, Modern Warfare is cool, is super cool, and I'm not saying don't talk about that, but I definitely want to hear more about Cold War, because y'all got to
Yes.
play the beta.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
And
I was gonna
I
kind
haven't
of
heard
segue
much.
into that.
Okay, sorry, my bad. I
No,
didn't
no,
mean
it's
to
fine.
jump
I was
ahead.
gonna go ahead and say that about Modern Warfare. It's like what was I gonna? What is my my comparison? It's like they took Modern Warfare 3, and they took Battlefield 1, and they had a baby.
Mm.
So it's the game mechanics, and the a lot of the maps are a lot bigger, and you get this feeling of immersion that you didn't in any other Call of Duty that I've played, which is back to, I don't know, Black Ops 1 probably is the earliest one that I've played extensively.
Mhm.
And it's amazing, and it's
Does that just mean that I'm like old? Because
Yeah.
I used to play the first one.
Oh,
Like
Yeah,
I played the first one through like a bazillion times
I've played
when it
all
was
of them.
pretty new still.
Like I've played at least some of I think every Call of Duty game except for Infinite Warfare, which nobody really counts Infinite
I didn't
Warfare.
even know
Did
that was
anybody
one.
play Infinite
I
Warfare?
don't think anyone played Infinite Warfare. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, so we have been, we've been playing Modern Warfare since what, Elliot, Everett? When did you start playing it?
Oh well, when you came down in early July, that was when I got it.
Yeah.
And it was an impulse buy because I'm not usually up to this point. I hadn't really gotten into online games much. I love story games, single player games, but Davis came down to visit, and we're hanging out, and he's playing a little bit of Modern Warfare, and I'm like, maybe I would enjoy that. So I went ahead and picked up a copy, and honestly, I do not regret it one bit. Like, it's a fantastic game, and I have had so much fun playing with Davis and by myself too. Honestly, it's just
And
really
yet,
fun to play.
and yet you still refuse to buy any of the DLCs for Destiny, which we've been trying to get
Okay,
you to do since we
Let's
started
circle
doing
around
that.
back. Let's circle back around to that in a second.
All right.
So about Cold War, there's been
Mhm.
so much hype about this, and I honestly,
much.
leading up to the release of it, Elliot, I was expecting, I guess in my subconscious, I wasn't like actively thinking this because I know, duh, it's a Cold War. It's a different developer than Modern Warfare. I mean, it's a Black Ops, so it's a different
It's a
developer,
Black Ops, yeah.
right? But when the
But,
open
yeah, we
beta came up and Everett and I started playing, I realized, oh, I need to be expecting a Black Ops game. And honestly, that's what I got. It's like they took
It's
some of the good
true.
game mechanics out of Modern Warfare, like the sliding, and granted,
Minus the tax sprint.
right. They took away tac sprint. There's no
Oh,
mounting.
Such a noob.
Man. And to be honest, I try to tac sprint in all the games I play now because it's so amazing.
So true.
But
On a
So true.
scale of 1 to 10, like how different would you say Cold War is from Modern Warfare?
Well, I mean, it's like because there's at least some level of similarity because every Call of Duty game is gonna have, but it feels like a different game in a similar genre. I mean,
that's a good way of putting it.
if they didn't have the Call of Duty label slapped on them and they were just this game Modern Warfare and this game Cold War, I mean, they could exist separately, and I wouldn't think it was weird that they weren't really
because the last real Black Ops versus regular series Call of Duty game that I really had any hand in was when Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3 were pretty new.
Yeah.
And I could compare those two, and I could feel the differences there. Would you say it's about that sort of difference?
I mean, I would say pretty similar, I would think.
So
what about you, Davis?
You were comparing Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 2?
Yeah.
I would say, okay, so for Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 2, I think there was a smaller difference between those two games than in Modern Warfare, 2018, 27, whenever it came out, the new Modern Warfare, 2019, and Cold War. I think they are more different games than Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 2, because Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3 both had aspects of arcadeness that I guess every Call of Duty before the new Modern Warfare has had. Black Ops 2 is obviously more arcade style. It's very fast-paced action, but the thing is, Modern Warfare 3 wasn't all that different. It was they tried to make it more about realism and less archaic, right? But honestly, Modern Warfare was groundbreaking.
It's true.
It changed the Call of Duty industry. I don't think they need a new game. Honestly, I'm glad they have a new game because everyone are getting it. But and it's
yeah.
super fun.
The Call of Duty industry. I love that.
Well, it is at this point. How many games have they
I
released?
guess
yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Well, they've made like what 17 or 18 main entries since
I'm
2003,
looking
so that's
Call of
pretty
Duty
large
games.
series
We got 1,
at this
2,
point.
3,
But yeah, I would agree that I think that Modern Warfare marks a like it feels like so much more of an involved, intense game than some of the other ones. Like I don't know, like Davis was saying, the fluidity and stuff of a game is like can be really important, and like this game has a lot of that. There's so much because you slide and you mount and sprinting, and it's
Yeah.
just you just feel like you're there
There's 16 Call
more
of Duty
than
games.
you do with other games. 16. Okay, well I was close.
So the fluidity. We should move on from Modern Warfare pretty quick here, but
Yeah.
I do want to touch on this. The reason it was different is because you felt like you were a soldier on the ground, which is why I said that thing about Battlefield, is because that's what Battlefield did so well, is that the gameplay mechanic, the screen shaking, and the HUD, and the your guy on the ground, it wasn't like you were playing a Call of Duty game and you're running around and shooting people. Playing this game, and this sounds so cliche, but it honestly feels like it's so more immersive because there was so much attention to detail that they paid so much more attention to detail, and that like the gun recoil, it feels, I mean, it's like a different game than another Call of Duty. It feels like you're holding a gun in your hand and you're shooting. It's really fantastic. And you know, if Cold War wasn't coming out, I'd say, you know, pick it up. But
Yeah, for real. But I mean, and like we've played the beta for Cold War, but I think it's too soon to really make a final judgment on what it's going to be like because we've only
That's
played
definitely true.
like very select modes and very select maps.
and you've
So,
got
you know,
the
in, like-
slide that honestly I feel like they're gonna nerf. You can slide like 1,000 yards
It's
in that game.
honestly
and you
so
can
true.
vault,
You can
like
slide across the map.
a skyscraper.
Dude,
you know,
yeah.
there's definitely
Yeah, you
some map
jump,
and
like,
game mechanics that
20
were
feet.
very beta-ish in that, but the game overall, the feel that we got, honestly,
Yeah.
Elliot, I think you would enjoy it more. And in addition to that, Cold War Zombies.
Oh, the
Yeah,
zombies look
no, I'm-
amazing.
I'm definitely
So
excited
good.
for more zombies.
And
The only
like,
reason that I
it comes out
haven't,
in 8 days or something, so you know.
the only reason that I
all you
haven't
out
ever,
there comes out in 8 days.
the only reason that I haven't ever
Not
sprung
sponsored.
for,
Not at
a-
all. But you can play with us if you get it.
True.
Maybe.
the only reason that I haven't ever sprung for a new Call of Duty game is that I'm just unfortunately not nearly competitive enough.
Right.
You two both definitely have an edge on me as far as like how good you are.
Right.
Like I really enjoy playing stuff like that, but I'm pretty hot garbage at PvP in almost any game that I've ever played.
That's a good.
Um,
That's a
so-
good segue into what your list of games that you have up here. We can come back to Hellblade. We can do that last if you want to. But
oh, we definitely have to talk about Hellblade
yes.
whenever we do.
So that is a good point. I think in terms of games that you play, we have a pretty good diverse array. Excuse me, array. Even though it's just 3 people, I think
Yeah, there's a lot
three
of spectrum here.
is
Yeah.
all you need to portray the spectrum of gamers. You have, I guess it's if you had like a needle, if you had like a dial, it would be casual on one end and competitive on the other end. Or what's a
Right.
better word than casual? Or if there is
Casual
one.
works.
Yeah. So, but not necessarily to imply that you play games every once in a while, but it's the type of game you can play. Casual games versus competitive games. Casual gamer versus
Well,
competitive gamer.
you can play.
You get the idea.
You can play most competitive games in a casual way as well.
That's a good point.
There are plenty of
Yeah.
situations in which, you know, games that are largely competitive, you can have casual leagues or
Right.
you know,
Right.
play against bots or what have you.
Yeah, and really you should be talking here, but I guess from my side, it's so to kind of array us to anyone whoever's listening is kind of confused about this. Elliot falls on the casual side. I'd say
Very
Everett.
much so.
I'd say Everett, you're kind of in the middle.
Pretty much. I mean, because like I love me a good story game, but I can also really get into some like Modern Warfare.
I feel like I'm slowly over the years drawing you towards the competitive side.
It's true, honestly. That's what's been happening. Because it
And
used to
then-
just be, you know, you and me playing Modern Warfare 2, like on Steam, just the two of us, but
Right.
1v1. But you know, it's not that way anymore.
And I would fall on the competitive side more. I definitely play more FPS and competitive games rather than like as opposed to story-based games, solo games like that. I got into gaming with Overwatch. Came out-
Really? That's how you got into it?
I mean, competitive gaming, to be specific.
Oh, okay.
Gaming in general, I think I played Supreme Commander, and that was my first, Supreme Commander, Total Annihilation, those RTS games. And,
Yeah, I was about to say, you definitely played RTS games back in the day.
Right, yeah. Battle for Middle-earth and Supreme Commander and, Total Annihilation, those RTS games, I think that would be sufficient to say that got me into gaming. And then Minecraft. I played Minecraft for, I don't even know how many years. How long has it been out?
Oh, sure.
11.
We've all played
Probably played
Minecraft.
about,
Oh,
8 out
it's
of
been
11
out,
of its
like,
years.
there have been different releases out for like 11 years. So
Right, yeah. But in the competitive side, I definitely got into it from Overwatch because Overwatch was it's a 6v6 objective based team coordination necessary. This isn't a good description, but it's very, very based on your team coordinating each hero's different abilities. You've got tanks who have, they take a bunch of hits. You've got healers who keep your teammates alive. You've got damage dealers who are easy to take down, but you can dish out a lot of damage with them. And you kind of coordinate with your 5 teammates who's who, whose job is what. And there's just a plethora of strategies, and I mean there's an Overwatch World Cup that's been happening for 3 years at this point, where the best teams from 12 different nations come together, and there's a huge tournament. That is a very, very big competitive game, very based on competitive, and that's kind of Blizzard's staple in terms of multiplayer games. If Blizzard releases a multiplayer game, you can be sure that there's going to be a very competitive side to it. But so that's kind of where we are on the spectrum.
Isn't Overwatch basically like the same thing as TF2 was?
Yes, that's a good comparison.
I guess.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, because I played some of that back in the day. I was never good at it, but I played some of that back in the day.
Team Fortress 2 is like, it's like an older version of Overwatch essentially, with, different mechanics somewhat, obviously, but so that's how I got into gaming. I think that's a good subject though. How did you guys get into gaming?
It's a great question.
Oh, I mean, you could trace that back a long time for us.
Go for it.
I mean, I don't know what Elliot would say specifically, but I mean, when I was tiny, I remember watching him and our older brothers and even sisters sometimes play games like Age of Empires 2 was a staple at our house, and the old Star Wars Episode 1 racer game.
Right.
And like we had all of these computer games, and we had Sonic CD, and they just like I grew up either watching them being played or even playing them myself at a very young age. And so it wasn't like, we didn't ever have consoles in the house when we were younger, but
Right.
but we had games on our computers, and like we always had computers around. Our dad's a programmer, and so like computers were definitely a thing. So we grew up around games, and it wasn't until it was like the guess it would have been Christmas of 2012. Elliot got an
Was it 2012? I was thinking it was 09.
No, that was 2012.
Okay, all right. I trust you with dates better than I trust myself. So.
Yes.
But so anyway, Elliot Elliot, do you want to tell us? It was yours, obviously.
No. You go ahead. You finish your thing, and then I'll tell you.
Okay. So, I think it was Christmas of 2012. Our brother came to visit from out of town, and he brought an original Xbox, like, you know, way back from 2001, to as a present for Elliot. And so Elliot and I, and for that Christmas, I think it was that Christmas, he got Halo 2 for the original Xbox. And we played that thing so much. And I mean, we still have the disc, but that disc is scratched beyond imagination because we played it so much.
Oh, yes.
Did y'all
that
ever
it was basically destroyed.
Did you guys ever have one of those really cool looking CD cleaner things? I remember we used to have one with it's like a circular, I don't know, 2-inch thick disc carrier looking thing, and it's got it had a rotatable lid, like a lime green transparent plastic lid that you put on there, and you like turn a disc inside that wipes the CD. I don't know if this has just popped in my head. Did y'all ever have one of those?
No, I don't know. We never had anything like that. I've seen them, but we never had anything like that.
So cool. Anyway, you can continue.
Yeah. So anyway, just to wrap my point up, it was like, I think that was basically you could call it a gateway to. We started playing Halo, you know, and then we got a 360, and we the later Halo games and you know, Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 2, and we had a lot of fun playing us and our older brother Evan, just like local multiplayer on there for several years. And then, you know, as time went on, we stopped playing that as much, and we played more on our own and stuff. And I kind of have moved to, at this point, I play most of my PC, but still, I hold a special place in my heart for those Xbox days. But I mean, that was kind of a chronicling of the video games of my life, at least. So, Elliot, why don't you?
So mine definitely comes a little bit earlier, and that's just by virtue of me being a little older than you. But
yeah.
No, actually, Davis, it's funny because you can trace this back to your brother and your cousin, because I believe it was Everett, help me out here. Halo 1 came out for PC what year? 2003?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was 2003.
Dang.
Wow. It was 2003 that my older brother got Halo 1 for the PC, and your brother Davis, your brother Roy, and your cousin Logan came down for a visit, and Evan, my older brother Evan, and then them two would play Halo 1. And you know, it was back in the olden days when you could play 3 different versions. You could play the same CD on 3 different machines by taking the CD out after you run the game.
Yes.
You know, and and they would play, and like that was when I got my first taste. Evan, at one point, they stopped playing, and Evan just sat me down in front of it, and I got to like drive around in a Warthog, and I remember thinking like, this is the life. You know, this is so perfect. Cool. And admittedly, like, yeah, there, like Everett was saying, there was some before that. There was definitely the episode 1 racer game that we played all the time when I was a kid. Much. We played Age of Empires ad nauseum when I was a kid.
Still do. And
actually, we still do. Yeah.
You know, it's amazing. You gotta wonder if. What? We good?
Sorry,
I'll go on.
Yeah, we're good.
I don't know what's going on.
You gotta wonder if the developers of those games were like, when did Age of Empires 2 came out? When did that come out?
1999.
When did that came out? Did I just say that? It came out in
No.
1999?
21 years ago.
21.
No. The first one was 97. The second one was 99.
Of course.
All right.
So, do y'all think the developers of those games thought, I bet in 20 years there's going to be a plethora of like 16 to 40-year-olds still playing our games consistently?
I don't know about that particularly, but I do know that
blows my
those
mind.
people really, really cared about what they were doing. We actually grew up with one of the guys who worked at Ensemble, who made the first Age of Empires games. I always, he always took great pride in the stuff that they had done. So, you know, on the one hand, you know, they probably didn't really give it much thought, but on the other hand, you know, good work, it just sort of bleeds over that way, right?
Yeah.
You know, people are still playing Halo 1. People are still playing Age of Empires. People are still playing, like, you know, old Mario game, like the original N64 Mario game. And, you know, there's just all these, there are just some titles have just remained classic
Right.
throughout the years. And I think that's just a testament to how well they were made at the time.
Yeah. Well, speaking of classics,
And that kind of sorry.
Sorry, I mean, you can go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, like, and a big thing is, I mean, 21 years ago, I bet the guys at Ensemble are not thinking, man, in like what? From 1999 to 2013, that's 14 years. They probably weren't thinking, you know, in 14 years, our game that at that point is going to be, you know, pretty aged in terms of, you know, the way video games is going to be adopted and like reworked to work on massive online servers like Steam's, because like nobody thought, I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting how fast something like Steam was going to come about. And
oh, for sure.
It's really changed the way gaming works,
I mean,
and how you can get access to games.
I think Age of Empires 2 was at the cutting edge of internet play in the first place.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a whole lot of that for anybody at that time.
Yeah.
Most multiplayer games at that time, and even up until 03, 04, were mostly just LAN parties. You know, people would come over with their PCs or their Xboxes or what have you, and because that was the surefire way to play, right?
Right. Yeah.
On a local network, it was much easier and much more reliable. So, yeah, I mean, not only were they not thinking that was going to be a thing, but like that was barely a twinkle in the eye of programmers at that time. So, it's a big thing for sure.
Yeah. But I think we owe a lot of the popularity of games like Age of Empires 2 today to Steam and stuff, because like if they hadn't revived them, they would not be what they are now.
Well, I mean, I think the player base would be smaller, but I think the diehard fans like we would still be playing. Like we would still find a way to make our old discs run.
But do you remember the kind of
GOG would have it?
We had to jump through to like even get it to work. We had to go online and find the exact same patch, so we weren't running different versions of the games on the different computers.
I know. I mean, I'm not saying it was easy, but like we'd still be playing it.
Right.
Like there's no two ways about that.
Right. And I'm not.
But there definitely wouldn't be as large of a player base as there is now.
And I mean, it's huge. It's a huge thing. And then they released the whole 20th anniversary definitive edition, which like gives a massive upgrade to some gameplay mechanics and the visual aspect of it.
Yeah. Which is super cool.
Yeah, it is.
But I do want to move. This is a good conversation, but I do want to move on because Everett, I want to talk about another game that we used to play when we were kids.
Oh yeah.
That we were just reviving recently.
Oh yes, absolutely.
So we were in a bookstore just a week ago, and
how long ago?
we were in the video games section, and we found this DVD collection of the most of the Rayman games, and
so
we were taking. Okay, go ahead.
Explain what is Rayman, because I honestly, y'all explained it the other night or last night in summary, but I was kind of half listening, and I also didn't really understand. I couldn't really picture it. So explain it. What is Rayman?
Okay, so Rayman is a mascot platformer, similar vein of like the 3D Mario games, Crash Bandicoot. I'm trying to think of other specific names, but Crash Bandicoot's probably the closest thing. But it was Ubisoft's big platformer in the late 90s, early 2000s. They had the original Rayman game was a 2D platformer, just like a basic side scroller. And then they, in 1999,
That was right.
Yeah, in 99, they came out with the sequel to Rayman, and it was their first foray into 3D platforming. And while the controls leave a little to be desired
Yeah,
as
for
far
sure.
as far as camera angles and stuff go, um, the general like longevity of the game is awesome. Like we got it again on Uplay recently, and we've been playing it. I've been playing it. Everett's been playing it again, and like it's still just as fun. Like I'm just really enjoying it. The visuals are surprisingly like
Yeah, really.
not hideous to look at. Um, it's just a very charming game.
It
was
is.
it was back before Ubisoft was like super crazy. But yeah, anyway, Rayman 2 and 3 we played
So much.
just so much when I was a kid, when we were kids.
That's awesome.
And it's a big favorite of ours.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And I mean,
okay.
and
Sorry, go ahead.
like with Age of Empires, sorry, this will be quick. Like with Age of Empires, I really appreciate a lot of these game services today and their appreciation for nostalgia in games, and like bringing Sonic CD to Steam in like 2012, and whenever they brought Rayman to Uplay, those games, a disc copy of that game, you can still play them, but bringing them with the ease of like the modern download based game services,
Oh, yeah.
like I really appreciate what they've done with those.
Not to mention the fact that most PCs now don't even have disk drives.
Yeah, honestly,
Right.
Yeah.
I took mine out.
Which I like. Well, then I guess you'd be in the opposite camp from me, because I still do not understand. There's so much software that is still sold on discs, so it's like why switch now? I just think it's a little preemptive. I don't know.
Well,
that's just
really
that's just my opinion.
Is based on is sourced from gaming PCs, quote unquote, and
right.
Those. If you are a person who's gaming, you're not going to be using CDs.
That's
you're going to be installing your games on
true.
Steam, Origin, hopefully not Origin, but
hopefully not Origin. Oh my god.
So yeah, well, I think we had on our list to continue in and talk about Minecraft, but
I
honestly don't think we have enough time for that. And I think it'd be more appropriate to make an episode on Minecraft.
I think we
because
can
it's so
definitely
in-depth. We've all put so much time into it, and we can go through the history of it, and wow, I mean, there's just a bunch there. So I think we move past that. Elliot, you have Assassin's Creed on your list.
Yes, I do want to briefly talk about Assassin's Creed, because we're talking about, we're talking about all these games we've been playing recently, and so I have a funny sort of history with Assassin's Creed, because in 2008, I think it was, that it came out on PC. I got it. I don't remember why. It was still new, and I don't remember because I don't think I've ever until really recently, I don't think I'd ever bought a brand new game. So I'm not sure how. I think somebody might have given it to me, but I played it a ton when it first came out, the first one. And
I'm looking up the games.
I really enjoyed it.
Now, by the way.
What was that?
I'm looking up the games in order right now just to see how many there are.
Oh my gosh,
so I can kind of
so
follow
many.
them chronologically.
There's tons, and there are a lot of them that are like they have some like sub releases that they wouldn't count as part of the main grouping. So, but anyway,
let me just run through the list real quick. So, because I'm assuming you're going to go through some of the games you've played.
I'm just going to go through the first three.
Okay. So, yeah, well, we have Assassin's Creed, the first one, 2007. Assassin's Creed 2, 2 years later. There's Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which is a follow-up to Assassin's Creed 2. Not necessarily the third one. I think it's kind of been dubbed as like the not third.
It's like 2.1, and then there's Revelations, which is 2.2, right. And then there was 3.
Yeah, 2010, 2011, and then a year later, Assassin's Creed 3, and then since then we've got Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, and then Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I honestly don't recognize that at all.
Rogue.
Yeah, that's Rogue and Syndicate were both ones that completely And granted, I didn't pay attention to this franchise much.
Right.
Like I said before, I wasn't big into buying new games or anything.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't, for a lot of my life, I haven't had a console or a PC that was current gen. So it just, I played old games a lot, you know.
Well,
Um,
so then we have Rogue, then we have Assassin's Creed Unity released the same year in 2014 as Rogue, then Syndicate a year later, 2 years later Assassin's Creed Origins, which is the like the Egypt one,
Egypt one, yeah, yeah.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey 2018, which is
Greek.
like Grecian times.
Yeah.
And then what's the new one coming out?
Valhalla.
It's
Valhalla.
Vikings.
Vikings.
So
Yeah.
that's just a good preface. I think we should have our conversation, and then Elliot, I think you and I have a similar point to be made, comparing Hellblade to the new Assassin's Creed or the new ones. But you can go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, we can come back
But
to that.
first, I want to finish what I was saying about Assassin's Creed. Was just that I played the first one a ton when it was new, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, the parkour was unlike anything I had ever seen in a video game, and I was totally blown away by everything that game could do. And I remember when I played it, I remember just thinking it was one of the greatest games I'd ever played. And then I completely fell off the wagon, and I never played another one until Odyssey came out, and Everett said, "Hey, you should sit down and play Odyssey for a sec." And I did, and I was like, this doesn't even remind me of Assassin's Creed in the way that I remember it. And so a little bit later, I ended up going to a bookstore and buying the first 4 games, which would be first 5 games. It was 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations, and 3. And for Xbox 360, because I wanted to play them, as they were sort of originally released. And I played the first one again, and I was like, this is so boring. It is seriously one of the most boring games that I've ever played in my life. I don't know how. I seriously do not know how. I mean, I know how. The answer is I was a kid, and anything could have amused me.
Well, yeah.
But I was so confused playing it this time around. I was just like, this is so bizarrely boring. Like the whole thing is just set up so badly. But then I powered through. I finished the main story. I did not try to 100% it or anything, but I finished the main story, and I moved on to 2. And I had never played 2, and here we are. It's 2020. I'm just bored in quarantine, and I need something to do. So I started up 2, and man, I was blown away.
Assassin's
Because
Creed
2, oh yes, 2 Assassin's Creed 2 is like seriously probably in my top 10 list of best games
2.
ever
Wow.
made. It is so incredibly well put together. They took all of the cool stuff from the first game and then just cranked up the awesome to a factor of 11 on everything else. I mean, they
Yeah.
even added like a little sort of almost like an RTS mini game type thing in the in your like home city in
Oh,
that
I
game
remember
that is
that.
yeah, that like I thought at first would super annoy me, and the more I played it, the more I like super enjoyed that little aspect. I mean, because you don't think that you're going to enjoy like a completely different game style plopped right in the middle of your
Right.
third person adventure game, but
Right.
it served as a really nice break from just running across rooftops. But man, it's just the world was well populated. It was well generated. The streets of Italy are just way more beautiful than random parts of like the Middle East or wherever the first game was set.
Right.
And it's even to this day, even in 2020, I was blown away at some points at how beautiful the game was.
Yeah. So a big step
And
up from 1 to 2.
oh,
Like
just a huge
monumental.
step up.
Different game level.
Completely. It's got a lot of the same mechanics, but they're just so much better,
Yeah.
much more fleshed out, much more thought out. And I just really loved 2. 2 was so good I 100%ed it. Because I didn't want to stop
Daggone.
playing.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
And yeah, that was just really, really awesome. But anyway, that was pretty much my whole thing about Assassin's Creed. But Assassin's Creed is just really good. I'm really excited, looking forward to playing the other entries.
Yeah.
Although I know there's a major sort of tone, not tone shift in the storytelling, but like in the gameplay. Uh, starting with like 3, and then really moving on to Black Flag. They changed
Yeah.
up a whole lot of stuff. And
Well,
around that time is when it sort of shifted into what it is today, which is kind of like more of a hack and slash type combat system with health bars and
I couldn't tell
things
you.
like that. Yeah, well, so that was what I was really not enjoying so much about Odyssey, was that like it's all on a tier system. So you can't
Yeah.
fight an opponent who's like a level above you or
Interesting.
whatever.
So it's more like
And
a looter shooter kind of
yeah, it
dungeoning.
really is more like a looter
Interesting.
shooter.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Destiny with swords.
That could be cool.
Except,
It,
well, it
it's
could
not
be.
bad.
It takes it to another level. And like, I'll preface this with saying I enjoy playing Odyssey. I had a lot of fun when I just playing through it. It's exploring the world. The world is gorgeous. I mean, like, it's the Greek islands recreated to what they would be in like 400 BC during the Peloponnesian Wars, and like, it looks amazing and like it plays smoothly. But part of the thing that just kind of turned me off is that it's gargantuan.
Hmm.
There is no edge to what there is to do, and not in a good way. It's like you're like,
Yeah.
I feel accomplished, and it's like you are 1% into the game, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to, give this a break, because I'm never gonna finish this game. There's not even a point in trying. So like, there
Yeah.
are some parts of it that I enjoyed, but I don't know. Bigger isn't always better. So
Very,
Yeah.
very true.
That's
And
a
that's
good
I think
point.
that's the main issue that oh wow, I just blanked. Assassin's Creed is Ubisoft, right?
it is Ubisoft. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's the main problem that Ubisoft has been having lately with their open world stuff, is that they just make these massive worlds and don't really think through the population of them, or the time it takes to get between places and stuff like that. And it just sort of leaves you with admittedly, a very pretty game, but a kind of boring game otherwise. And personally, like, loving that second game so much, like, I'm a huge fan of story-driven adventure games.
Right.
And I loved the story in the second game, and I was just totally blown away. But the new way, like with health bars and like not being able to assassinate people in one hit,
Yeah.
and like it's sort of, I don't know, it just took me out. It took me out a lot. I was not able to enjoy it in the same way.
Yeah. Well, the reason I said that earlier is
Yes,
because
please talk about Hellblade.
about the reason that there's a big step up from 1 to 2 is because, from what I've noticed, and granted, I have not played any of the Assassin's Creed games myself. I've watched Harris play a lot of them, or I've watched a lot of
I
Harris
thought you
playing
played
them,
the
rather.
second one.
I may have. I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
The second one, possibly, but my point is, even just watching and kind of like getting a vibe of a feel with how they've come from and where they've come from from each game, it kind of seems like they plateaued somewhere along the line. Like maybe Well, you said Black Flag. What were y'all talking about? Was Black Flag was a super
Yeah,
around Black
yeah.
Flag? They kind of plateaued. There's different kind of play styles and different areas. They're different places on
I,
Earth. But at this point, it
you
feels
know
like
what?
they're just doing Assassin's Creed Planet Earth, and they're just going to different. Each
Right.
game is a
And
different episode.
here's the major problem with it. And I like honestly, this is such a basic thing, but I'm pretty convinced that this is the issue. Um, the real main issue is that they've transplanted Assassin's Creed to so many different locales and times that they've actually nerfed themselves because the um, the amount of places that they can use that have tall buildings is actually getting smaller and smaller.
That's so funny.
Because yeah, and you don't really think about it, but like the first game was in Jerusalem mostly. The second game was in Italy. That well, second Brotherhood and Revelations were all in Italy, I think. And then the third game was in like colonial
I got it. Look it
America.
up.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was
It takes
And
place.
Revelation
right,
um,
and so
Yeah,
that's when
it's Revelation.
you already start to nerf yourself, right? You're in colonial America, and like, were there really, really tall buildings in colonial America? No. Uh, the tallest thing was the church building with a steeple, and yeah, they'll let you climb on top of that, but like, it was just, it's
Yeah.
just one of those things, colonial America's not good for that.
And you can't
Black
really
Flag,
die.
you're on a ship most of the time.
Right.
No, not most of the
Um,
time. I have played some of Black Flag, and like there is a ship aspect, but there are a lot of areas to visit.
sure,
But
I'm
honestly,
not saying there aren't.
the thing is,
Sorry.
well, you say that, and honestly, that just proves the point even more. They are trying to cling to that aspect of it, and honestly, it seems like by the time of Black Flag, they are plateauing. They don't do a good job of. It's like each new game is, instead of, it's a new game with a new immersive experience and it's another mind-bogglingly amazing Assassin's Creed game, and it still somehow retains the Assassin's Creed 2 splendor. Instead of that,
Right.
it's like it's a new game, but it's way different. It's not as cool, and they're trying to cling on to it, and they shouldn't be.
Right.
That's kind of
Right.
the feeling I get from it.
Because I mean, let's just be real. The first game, more than anything, was pretty much a tech demo for the parkour
The
mechanics that
game
they
engine,
invented.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the parkour is like the core of the gameplay of the early Assassin's Creed games. And if you don't have the parkour, like, what do you have really?
Right. Yeah.
And like I've seen some of the parkour gameplay from Valhalla, and it like it's boring. It like you can climb up in a tree. Ooh,
What does
exciting.
Valhalla have, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
So
just one of those things. I'm not saying that they're bad games, just that they're not the same thing at all.
Well, and
Uh,
just to go
go
with
ahead.
Black Flag, like you were saying that by the time Black Flag happened, they're kind of flattening out, and they don't really have much. They can't really follow the I guess the vibe of the first couple games the same way, and that's when they started making the big maps. I mean, it's not Odyssey level big, but even Black Flag has a fairly sizable map, and
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's
a
just
really, really good point.
it's
That's a
just
really good
like
point because
when you get to have a game so big, it's not like you lose something because you don't want to actually have to traverse the entire map
right,
just to see it. And like it isn't like some games where you can just zoom across the map in a like a la GTA 5 or something. You have to actually like sail between islands. I mean, maybe there's a fast travel mechanic, but you can't fast travel to places you haven't visited
yeah,
before, I think. And it's
yeah.
honestly gets pretty
It
tedious.
takes a lot for a game to be remembered for its Black Flag, for its big map. Because, for instance, Skyrim.
right.
I remember
I was
Skyrim
about to
because it has
mention
a
Skyrim.
gloriously huge map.
That's massive.
we're not remembering Black Flag because it has a gloriously huge map,
No.
right? It has a big
Right.
map, but it wasn't done well. Skyrim, amazing.
Incredible. Almost
If you
flawless.
want to, you can gallop across the entire map on your little horsey in like 30 minutes, you know? but-
yeah.
If you don't want to take the time to do that, quick travel. All the other Elder
Right.
Scrolls had it, so nobody's disappointed by that. But like it also
But the map felt real. There was nothing.
yes.
There
yeah,
was nothing.
very accessible.
There was never a time where you would be going across large parts of the map in Skyrim and not run into like a cabin where some witch was living that you could loot her house or
Or go in and talk to her and have a nice conversation, Elliot.
No, that's not a thing. She's a witch. You got to kill her. But a witch's house or like a giant camp or a dragon
Yeah.
sighting or like there's never a time where you're doing that and you don't have those things. And these other big map games are just more big map for the sake of having a big map. And I mean, Elder Scrolls already has a lot more stuff in the bag than a lot of these other games anyway,
That's a good
because they've
point.
got so much history and so much lore
Yeah.
to go with them. And like,
Different
man, that's
games,
a whole
yeah.
nother podcast episode.
Oh yeah. Well,
Because I'm a huge fan of Elder Scrolls lore.
Yeah.
I've really dug into that stuff.
Well, speaking of the podcast, we should move on, and I think to wrap up the games section, we can segue from this to what we were going to talk about earlier is Hellblade. This game
Yeah.
called Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and I think there was a prequel released years ago, not hugely popular.
Wait, what?
It's kind of like a 2D plat. I'm really not sure about it. I only saw a title and like a
What?
picture of it.
I'm looking this up.
It may be because that may be like a comic or a some kind of just lore based thing. But yeah, look that up. Elliot
What?
introduced me to
Oh,
this
yes.
game. It's called Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and it is a solo, like these are the games we're talking about, story game. But before I get into the fact that it was unbelievably amazing and breathtaking and fluid and replayable and incredibly just immersive and engaging, a team of 20 people made this game. I don't think any of us three could answer how many people made Assassin's Creed Odyssey or whatever the new one is, Valhalla.
Way too many.
Way too many people.
Yep.
And look
Yep.
at what they did with it. They've made another Assassin's Creed game that's probably becoming, probably going to be stale within a matter of 3 months to people. A matter of 3 months. A matter of 3 months to players, because it isn't at this point they're trying to extend the Assassin's Creed legacy and not extend the player base by creativity and,
Right.
and
Right.
uniqueness. And
Right.
that is an intrinsic value, not value, that is an intrinsic inherent what's the word, attribute for game legacies and game franchises that just it attaches onto them. You can't help it over time. That's granted. It attaches onto them over time. There's the more games in a series that you make, take Call of Duty for example, the more you make, the more there is going to be that aspect of, oh, here's another Call of Duty game. And when it's
Right.
done well is when people's reaction is not, oh, here's another Call of Duty game, here's another Assassin's Creed game, and when it is, it's another Assassin's Creed game. I can't believe it. It's another Call of Duty.
Right.
I can't believe it.
Right.
That's a sign. I think in the past 2 years, Call of Duty kind of fell off on that. Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare, where are those? Nowhere.
Right.
Even
and now
World War
they dropped
II.
Modern Warfare and blew the world away. And now they're dropping
Yeah.
Cold War, and Everett and I are enjoying it. So they're picking the pace back up. But that's just an example of like game franchises can fall off or become stale because of the fact that they're a franchise. But coming back to Hellblade, there's just one game. There's another one announced already.
Yep.
Thank goodness. And
Oh my gosh.
it's
It's
I don't
unlike
know where to
anything I've
start.
ever played.
Right.
It's
Elliot snapped me out of the blue. He was like, "You have to buy this game and play it." He said it was the most breathtaking gaming experience he's ever had. And I know Elliot's played a lot of games, and I know Elliot can be a little bit wordy, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take your word for it, and I got it, and I played it, and I was blown away. It absolutely rocked my socks, and there's no UI. There's no UI.
None.
There's no
None.
interface. There's no health bars. There's nothing on the screen showing you press this button to do this. There's nothing at all. Words
Let's
pop up
also
on your
talk
screen
about-
at one point in the game.
Let's also talk about how there are no pre-rendered cutscenes.
Oh yeah,
Also
the whole
that.
game feels like a pre-rendered
The-
cutscene
Exactly.
because
the-
it's so
The
smooth.
entire game is in engine, and it is absolutely incredible.
It's
and
stunning.
like, for those of you who have never played the game or never heard of it, it's a third-person action puzzle game, basically, where you play as Senua. She is a Celtic warrior who is searching through the bowels of Norse hell to find her true love, who has been killed by Vikings.
I wish you guys
And-
could see me right now because I'm like shaking my fists because of the epicness of that.
Oh, I know.
It's so good.
It's
so epic.
I know.
Continue.
So she basically just the entire game is her descending deeper into hell and looking for her true love. And there's another major aspect to the game, and that is that Senua is plagued with psychoses, and she has voices in her head at all times, and they could really screw somebody up if somebody doesn't have like a good head on their shoulders. Like, don't play this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
But-
warning, but there's a warning before you start the game.
There's-
It's like,
that's true.
If you have
That is
had,
true.
if you have had like a history of this, you should not play it because
Yeah, that's true.
they are very, very. Their design, the sound design, is to where it feels like they're in your ear, like right next to your ear, whispering, and it's really creepy. But
It is.
man, it makes the game. It makes it.
Oh, it really does.
totally
It really
immerses
does
you.
because it feeds right into what you were saying earlier about no UI, because these voices
Yes.
are indispensable in combat
Yes.
because you'll get surrounded by all these apparitions that you have to fight, and you can only see so much in front of you, and the voices so perfectly timed will just yell behind you, give you just enough time to dodge or turn around and block an attack from somebody you couldn't even see.
It's
And
ingenious.
it's so immersive. It's the most immersive thing I've ever seen. And like, I want to talk for a second about the combat, because I read a lot of reviews after I played the game, because I usually go do that, read a bunch of reviews, see if people saw the same things I did. And I read a bunch of reviews, and a lot of them were saying, I like the story of this game, I like the setup of this game, but the combat is boring. And on the one hand, like, I understand what they're saying, right? You basically have a light attack, a heavy attack, and a dodge,
And a kick.
and a kick. That's right, and a kick. And on the one hand, yes, those are super simple controls. There isn't a whole lot there, but they don't really take into account what can happen if you really get good at the combat. The kind of I'm blanking on what that
Combos,
word
parries.
is. Yes, thank you, combos. The combos that you can execute. And it's the reason that people probably don't notice this is probably because there's no UI telling you that you got a
Yeah,
combo,
That's
right?
honestly a
There's
good
no
point.
times 12 times,
Right.
just it's not counting up how much your combo is going up. But like, the animations are really, like, there's a lot of subtle differences in the animations between combo moves and stuff, but like, you won't think about it if you're not paying attention to it. But the combat is incredibly fluid, even if you think that it's simple, and it
Yeah.
generally is pretty simple, but it's very, very fluid and really well implemented,
It was released in
if not the
2007.
most interesting
Yeah,
thing.
2017, 3 years ago,
I
and
know.
I think it
It
was
looks better
dubbed.
than most AAA
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly what you were gonna say. Uh, I think it was dubbed this. If not, then we dubbed it that, and we are right. It's an indie AAA game that
Yeah,
blows
it
AAA
yeah,
titles out of the water.
yeah.
Um,
I playing this game, I was like, how the hell are are more games not looking like this? If 20
yeah,
people can make a game that looks like this,
Well,
what are we doing? What are we
right.
doing,
That's
Ubisoft?
kind
What are
of
we doing, EA? What
yeah,
are we doing, Activision? Like, this is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that these people can't come up with a game that looks this good when 20 people can do it all on their own.
yeah. 3 years ago,
Yeah, 3 years ago.
it's
Right.
incredible. It
Oh,
uses Unreal Engine,
so
right?
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
Unreal Engine 4,
yeah,
I think,
yeah. That's right.
because 5 just came out. Yeah. Yeah, they're using 5 for the next one. And boy, oh boy, howdy, if you have not seen the trailer for the new one, get
Woohoo!
your booty to YouTube and watch it,
It's
because
amazing. It's
it
really
is,
fascinating.
you will not you will not believe that her character is in engine. It looks like a human person.
Yeah,
It does not look
it's
like,
it's actually insane.
it's crazy.
I
It's
believe
absolutely
Unreal
crazy.
has done some contracts with like movie producers to just do movie CGI. Like they're not just a game engine. They are so good that they are employed. They have been employed at least a few times by movie producers, I believe.
They should
Um,
be
that's awesome.
they should be making entire movies like this, by the way, which
oh
is a
yeah,
completely different conversation. But like, I don't know if y'all have watched any of the TV show on Netflix called Love, Death, and Robots.
no,
It's mostly like rated R stuff, so it's pretty intense for anyone who's listening to this. It's pretty intense stuff, but it's really interesting because the TV show it was produced all by one guy, but it's basically like 16 different animated shorts, and
Hmm.
each one was done by a different special effects
hmm.
animator.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
and so some of them are like super cartoony, a couple of them are hand drawn, but some of them are like the most realistic um, computer generated
Huh.
stuff that you've ever seen in your life.
That's so
And I so there's one that I think I can recommend because I don't think there's really anything bad in it. It's a little bloody, but the one, if y'all ever want to see something that's absolutely incredible to watch and all completely CG, you should go watch. I don't remember the name of it, but it's one of the last episodes of the show, and it's like about these Russians during World War II who are fighting off a alien army,
nice.
and it is, oh my
Sounds
gosh, it
awesome.
is mind-bendingly incredible. And yeah, that was basically my point, was that this technology is so advanced, and yet,
We don't see it for
where's the
movies.
where's the Pixar movie that's like super intense
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
and realistic?
Well, I
Um,
thought Cars 3
so I don't know.
was going to be that movie. From the trailer, it was like, oh, this is Cars for grown-ups. And I was hyped for it. And then it turned out to be kind of the worst Cars movie ever. But, um,
I don't really like the Cars movie, so I haven't seen it, but
well, we don't have to talk about that right now.
Seriously.
You can have your opinion, even
so
if
let's
it's wrong.
talk about music.
Yes.
Let's talk about music.
So,
I
Yeah.
want to hear what y'all are listening to. So Davis, tell me what you're listening to,
big
bro.
subject change, but
Yeah, it had to happen.
let's cover this first, Everett. Let's just establish something here.
Okay, are we gonna talk
I think
the,
it's wise.
controversy
Yeah,
of yesterday?
exactly. Yes, I think it's unwise of us to just have a podcast that's based on opinionated, conversations and be all. I can't think of anything but opinionated, but I do think it. Do think it's appropriate here, because
Yeah.
I think this just needs to be accepted worldwide. All right. We have 3 artists here we're going to line up for you.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay.
We have 3 artists.
I'm going to let y'all have this one because I don't really have a dog in this fight. Although I do like Charlie Puth.
Yes. Charlie Puth.
Okay, way to give away a third of our...
So one of the artists is Charlie Puth. We have Dua Lipa, and we have Harry Styles. Kind of a weird lump of 3 people to go together. There's context that we won't explain.
They're all 3 fairly big names in music right now, in pop music.
And similarly-ish in genre, they all make pop music. I guess that's really the only reason they're similar. But I don't know. How should we preface this, Everett?
Okay, so I'm just going to start this off by saying I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who I will not name, and just if you're out there listening to this somehow, don't take offense to this. This is our opinion, like we said.
Say the name. Say the name.
Say my name.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so I'm having a conversation with a friend of mine, and Harry Styles comes up or whatever. Oh no, wait, take it back. So I bring up that I've been listening to Dua Lipa's new album a lot, and I think it's really solid. It has a lot of great songs on it. It has, there's just a level of like grooviness that you don't hear in a lot of modern pop music, and I really appreciate the kinds of, not only the kind of production but the kind of writing. Anyway, so I'm talking about how I like her album, and my friend is like, oh well, whatever, like, that ain't no part of nothing. Harry Styles is way better or whatever. I don't know why that was the, I'm probably remembering this a little wrong, even though it was just yesterday. It feels like eternity ago. But anyway, so I'm just like, all right, well, since we're bashing each other, music we listen to, I'm gonna just put out there that I think Harry Styles, while he is a fine singer, not a bad singer, I don't have a particular problem with his singing, and stuff, I think that the songs he puts out are pretty bland when it comes right down to it. I think the writing is very lackluster. The only thing that carries is sorry. The only thing that really carries them is the production, which I can say is very well done in a lot of cases. But overall, I really am just not super impressed by Harry Styles' music. Anyway, and I said, so my friend was outraged by this because they, and I'm like, well, just think about it this way. When I listen to music, I'm looking for a level of, complexity. Like,
yes,
and so
we love complex complexities here.
You know what?
Yes,
Complex
we do.
complexity is the way to go.
That's right.
So I'm like, all right, so take Charlie Puth, because Charlie Puth is a modern, is a big name in pop music, and he is known for his really intense, interesting arrangements. And like Elliot and Davis can back me up on this, he just makes really interesting music.
Right.
And his production, he is most of his own production. And it's like, just the stuff that he does is really, like, you can say what you want about his singing or whatever, about how he is live, but like, you can't deny that he has just some serious musical talent.
Who says he's a bad singer? Is he bad? I've seen videos of him playing live, and I've enjoyed a lot of them.
Well, matter of opinion between people, but
I've just not heard that opinion.
You can say what you want about it, but like, he has some music of like a level of genius when it comes to music that a lot of these pop stars don't have. But my friend basically said
that, and he also writes a lot of his own music, which is not normal for pop music.
Right.
But anyway, my friend is going on about how Charlie Puth is the worst, and how they hate Charlie Puth, and I'm just like, I have no understanding of this. So I get on Snapchat, and I snap Davis. I'm like, Davis, okay, I had a weird conversation just now, and I told him what was up. And so he FaceTimes me, and like, just tell him, the kind of reaction you had, and like your analogy that you came up with.
So, okay, listen. This is some high-class blasphemy. I'm just going to lead with that. I enjoy Harry Styles, but his music is just objectively not that great. In musically wise, I think, especially compared to Charlie Puth. I mean, so I came up with the analogy that essentially Harry Styles is like eating I'm not gonna say this wrong, that like I have been. He's like eating stale saltine crackers. You can enjoy a saltine cracker, a stale saltine cracker. You can enjoy those. I eat them regularly actually, but they're just not. They're kind of objectively bad, right? They're stale saltine crackers. They're just salt and gluten that's been sitting out for too long, and now they've kind of lost the little bit of taste that they have. So I think that's a good analogy for Harry Styles. Is you can totally enjoy his music. There's nothing objectively wrong with that, and inherently wrong with that rather. But it's just not fantastic music. And then you put that next. Go ahead.
I'd like to ask you why you regularly eat stale saltines. because I know this is off track a little bit, but like eating stale saltines, yes, I get it. We've all done it, right? You go to grab a couple and the bag's been open and all that. But why are they why is it regular that you do this? Do you leave the bags open on purpose?
No, it's that I get a sleeve of saltines. I go through like multiple sleeves a week, and I'll get a sleeve of saltines up here, and I'll get like halfway through it with peanut butter, right? I eat saltines with peanut butter as a snack. I just eat them
like a
so
good
much.
man too.
Right.
Good man should.
And then I'll eat, get halfway through it, and then forget to like put the bag up overnight. And then I'll wake up the next day, and the next night, then I'm eating them doing homeschool? What? Doing schoolwork or homework. The bag's just there, open.
Well, we were all homeschooled, so let's
Right,
be
that's
real
exactly
about that.
True.
But yeah, the bag's just there, open, and I'm like, oh, I'll just eat some crackers. The point of this is to eat the peanut butter anyway, so it's not like I'm paying much attention to the stale saltines. But
Very good.
that's kind of why I regularly eat them, is because they're just out, and I don't pay much attention to
Okay.
it since
All right, I can understand. I can get behind that. All right, now continue your point. You said put
Glad we
that up
covered that.
alongside. Yes, put that up alongside.
Yeah,
Charlie,
so-
You were
so
saying
put
Charlie Puth.
Harry Styles, i.e. stale saltine crackers, up next to Charlie Puth, and it's like you've got a plate here with a few crumbly looking stale saltine crackers that have like gotten so old that they've kind of split down the middle, like a cross section. That you really don't I really don't like eating those because they're super thin and they just kind of crack. Compare that to Charlie Puth, who's on the other plate, and it's essentially like gigantic slabs of goat cheese and grapes from like the vineyards of Babylon, and like wine that's been curing for like 18,000 years.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. It's a cardinal sin to eat grapes and drink wine at the same time. I'd just like to say that.
You made a good point there.
But
All right.
otherwise, yes.
Cheese and grapes. And like
Cheese and
Rolexes. Okay? It's like Timex watch versus Rolex, okay? It's like you can enjoy it, but like Rolexes are just inherently better. So,
Right, like they keep the time, but they don't look pretty.
right.
Yeah.
And then Rolexes, I don't have to say anything about them. It's kind of like Harry
Right.
Styles.
No, but honestly, actually,
And
hold on.
Charlie Puth.
I would not say Timex and Rolex are really proper because, like, I don't know.
We
There's
have
a
to get into
basic.
that. That was a bad analogy.
It's basically like dressing something up to be better. But Charlie Puth isn't just like dressing up the kind of music Harry Styles makes. He is like, it's like comparing. Let's say this. It's like comparing a Rolex watch to a car clock, because car clocks, they have no concept of time. They're literally clocks that don't do what they were made to do.
It's like
And so
comparing a Rolex watch to a mailbox.
it is.
You know,
It really is.
they're
And so
not the
like,
same thing.
don't make the mistake of like bringing too close of a correlation, because in the terms of the musicality, there is just such a large difference between Charlie Puth and Harry Styles. And so yeah, that's my
So the
point.
point here is that this person said that they adore Harry Styles, and they said that they didn't really like Dua Lipa. And
Yeah,
that's
Dua Lipa wasn't a
understandable.
thing, which I can understand that. They're she's
It's
in quite a
understandable.
taste.
She's
So,
like oranges compared to stale saltines, because like some people just
Orange?
don't like oranges, but like to some people oranges are great.
that's true. That's a
So,
good point. I guess.
you know, that's understandable.
I don't
'cause
know a single person who doesn't like oranges.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of with Elliot on this.
I'd go
well,
with
I don't know anybody that
bananas.
doesn't like Dua Lipa.
I know tons of
Honestly,
people.
if anybody
I think
doesn't
that's
like
a good
oranges,
comparison.
DM us on Instagram after this. I want to hear it.
Do it.
Like,
Yes.
I just
Yes.
want to
Do
hear
it.
who doesn't like oranges. By the
but
way,
then-
you can
We'll
find
be
us on
putting.
Instagram.
We'll be putting that. I was about to say we'll be putting that on our Instagram. A
Absolutely.
poll
Yeah.
as
And
far
I'll-
as who doesn't like oranges.
Yes. I'll put that. I'll put those at the end. I'll say what our handles are at the
Oh
end.
yeah, sorry.
But so
Sorry.
we are coming up on an hour 30 minutes, so we'll go ahead and finish up with music. I think.
Sure. Let's wait. Let's just segue right into what I can pretty safely say is one of our all-time favorite albums of the last few
my
years.
goodness.
Let's just talk for a second about the
Absolutely.
beautiful Casey Musgraves
Woo!
and her absolute
Masterpiece.
smash of an album.
Total masterpiece. Golden
Golden
Hour.
Oh my!
A work of art. Really,
Actually,
a work of art.
Because I'm a huge fan, massive fan of listening to everything in album form. I've always loved listening to full albums, getting the full picture of whatever the artist's vision was for the music that they had. And this is probably in the top 10 for me of best full albums. Because every song on that album works so well with the
It
song
does.
before it and the song
really
after
does.
it. And there's such a flow to the whole thing. Like, and she's just such a master of finding that chill vibe where you can you can relax while you're listening to this, and also not losing any energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
oh
Because
yeah.
I love me some chill music, but every now and then I won't want to listen to the chill music because it can't keep the energy that like a lot of louder music can, and so it's hard to find that balance properly, because your Bon Ivers of the world are very chill, and you'll listen to that when you really want to be chill, but like there's very little that has captured the full spectrum like this album has.
Yeah.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's What are y'all's favorite songs from the album? Again, not sponsored. This is just another objectively gorgeous album.
It is. It really is.
Please go listen to it. You will be better for it. I think
Uh,
a whole lot of people can enjoy this. A plethora of people can enjoy
It's
this.
true. It's so
My favorites are "Oh What a World" and "Happy and Sad." Although, just picking favorites on this album make me sad, because I am like looking at the track list and I'm
No,
like,
yeah,
oh, and I
I'm
love
looking at
that
it
one, and I
too.
love that one.
so am I.
Right.
I would have to
Honestly-
say my favorite is Wonder Woman.
So good.
But if I had to, by virtue of trying not to have the same favorites, I would say one of my favorites that I always go back to is the title track,
Yeah.
because it's so smooth, and like the chorus,
See,
she goes, and I
I
know
forgot
everything's
about
gonna
that.
be all right, and when you hear that line, you know everything's gonna be all right. I mean, I'm
Yes.
just telling
Yep.
you, that is
Oh.
how it makes you feel.
You say that,
Yes, sir.
and I want to turn around and say, no, Golden Hour is my favorite song. And see, that's just an example of how good this album is. That
Totally.
And it was Grammy Album of the Year, wasn't it?
was
Yeah.
a totally deserved title.
Yeah.
she knocked it out of the
Absolutely.
park with that one.
It's amazing.
Just blew it away.
I think so. Let's to wrap up. Let's so we all love Golden Hour.
Yes.
But I know I've been listening to an album that you two, maybe Elliot, more so, and maybe you have been listening to it more. But I've been listening to what is it called? If I Know Me by Morgan Wallen. That album, basically Morgan Wallen's
Yeah.
only album. And let me preface by, okay, so this is country music. it's popper.
Yes.
It's more poppy country music. It's popper.
Popper.
It's popper than other country music. Poppier. But I got into country music. Everett, help me out.
Not that
Honestly,
long
just like the
ago.
last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Last year or so.
And
Yeah.
massive props to you, Jenna. I think Casey Musgraves helped usher me into it a little bit because I listened to some of her older stuff, which is definitely more of a country vibe. And definitely Lacey Conley, if you're listening to this, just I never thought I'd say this on a podcast, but huge shout out. I wouldn't be where I am without her in terms of country music. She has basically taught me the ways, and but
You know, it's funny. I can trace my love of country back to your oldest brother, Dan.
that's
because
awesome. Yeah,
Honestly,
he
same for
gave-
me. That's
He
where
gave a mix of country to my older siblings when I was a kid,
Yes.
and
Yep.
we listened to that
Yes.
thing on repeat when I was a
Dan's
kid.
disc. Ellen still
Dude.
has it.
Yep.
It's
well, yeah,
legendary.
I think I got into country with Josh Turner. Just all
Heck
of his
yeah.
music I love, but
Solid.
I would definitely, to everyone listening to this, listen to If I Know Me. If you don't like country music, Schaefer Green can attest to this. He hates country music, or has hated, and I got him. I've slowly turned him into at least a Morgan Wallen lover, who is a country singer. So I think we're making progress. He loves Morgan Wallen now, and not just his more contemporary songs like Seven Summers or More Than My Hometown. Well, he didn't even listen to More Than My Hometown. Disregarding Heartless entirely, which is a bop, but it's not a country song. He has such a great windows down. All of his songs you can listen to windows down, driving in the car.
Absolutely.
And sing along with them. And I mean, the reason I love country, and he does a great job of this, is because I just love the help me out. Like, country music is essentially beer trucks and girls in America.
Sure.
I mean,
I mean-
you say that a lot, and like I can definitely agree that it's true some of the time, but I think it's a wild over generalization.
Yeah.
That's
Of
very
country
true.
music,
I think
That's
so
true.
too.
country
that's fair.
music has some of the most like the themes in exploring country music songs, especially in artists like Brad Paisley and stuff. He just explores really in songs like No, he
Oh,
explores deep themes that you don't really hear in other genres. I don't.
That's true.
And, like,
yeah.
Country music may have a lot of beer trucks and girls, but they have stuff that a lot of other genres don't
Yeah.
have to.
I mean, the reason that I got into country music was because, oh gosh, this was 2000, and I mean, I definitely had that whole disc from your older brother that we listened to a lot when I was
Yeah.
a kid, but I didn't really get into it until 2013. I had this super big crush on this girl.
Do we lose you?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I got a call. I just ignored it. But I had this super big crush on this girl in the summer of that year, and I somehow got onto country, and like forever since then, I've just felt like, aside from maybe like really old jazz, there's no genre that captures like the feeling of being in love like country music
Like country,
does.
that is what got me into it. That
Yeah.
primarily overarching, I think, is an overarching reason rather, because country music, like no other genre, except for jazz maybe, like you said, or like piano jazz. I'm thinking Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
But, can just, it just
I know.
grabs you by the heartstrings, man, and you can just sing like "Redneck Love Song," is by Morgan Wallen on that album. Is like, it's such a simple song, and it's honestly kind of funny. But dude, I love it so much. And then "Talkin' Tennessee" is is the same way. And then what is it called? The Way I Talk is basically him talking about how like the way he lives his life is comparable to the way he talks. He's got a country drawl, and that's how he lives his life. And that just maybe I'm a dreamer. Maybe I have too many dreams about being a country boy, and I'm not. I'm definitely a city boy, but like, man, it's fantastic. Yeah, we can move on from that. But If I Know Me, Morgan Wallen, not sponsored, go listen to it.
Yeah, there's just one more thing that I wanted to hit on before we call it on this one. But there's one more album that I wanted to talk about. This, you guys probably don't really know it that well, although I've played Everett song for sure.
I've definitely heard some, but not everything.
Yeah, and this is an album called Our Lives Aren't Movies by a band called Brave Little Howl. Howl as in scream. And
wow, that was funny.
And yeah, so I know the front man, the guy who writes most of the songs for the band. He's a friend of mine, and I've known that he was a musician for a long time, but up until this past year, I hadn't really listened to his stuff. I had like jammed with him sometimes and stuff like that, but I came across this album. It popped up in a feed of mine, and I listened to one of the songs, and I was like, holy crap, is the whole album this good? And it is. And it is absolutely incredible. And the way that I would describe this to people who haven't heard it is it's like if it's like the third Mumford & Sons album where they went electric, except more musically intricate and interesting than that. And I'm not saying that I don't like Mumford, but this album is just chock full of awesome, like really well crafted lyrics and tunes, and it's just a really tight sound that they've got. It sort of spans everywhere from like garage rock to really sweet sort of love songs in there, and it's just an incredible album. I can't recommend it enough. It's really, really awesome. It's just really awesome, and I just wanted to say that real quick because not only to plug for my friend, but also the album is just awesome, and I would talk about it even if I didn't know the guy.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
Does that wrap it?
I mean, I guess it does.
I guess so.
But tell them about our social, Dave.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think we're at an hour and a half. This is plenty long for a first episode. Thank you all so much for listening to whoever did. You can find the podcast Instagram on Instagram, believe it or not. It is GMG Pod for Good Morning Gamers Podcast. So it's just GMG Pod on Instagram, and my handle is The Devastator, like the Devastator, except with Davis instead of Devastator. I made it, I don't know how many years ago. Everett's is old.tom.frost. Elliot is Richie6, RITCHIE 6. And I think that's it. Next episode, yes. I want to talk about Minecraft. I want to talk about movies because we have a big movie.
Heck yeah.
I think we're talking about Tenet, the
we
newest
definitely want to talk about
masterpiece from Christopher Nolan that recently came out. Absolutely mind-boggling. But I think that's it. Thank you all so much for watching.
Watching and listening too.
Thank you all so much for watching our podcast. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's it. And we will see you next time.
We love y'all.
Peace.
Good morning, gamers.
All right. Good morning, gamers.
we cannot do that. See you guys.